Shalom, shalom. Thank you for listening to the Forefront Radio. Welcome to the Forefront Radio. I'm your host, Afia Levi. Hope everybody's doing all right. So let's get right into it, y'all. We're going to talk about Thanksgiving. Somebody messaged me and said, hey, Forefront, you celebrating Thanksgiving? I said, hell nah. Hell nah. For what? And they were like, wait, you don't celebrate Thanksgiving? I said, hell nah. For what? Yeah, you get a day off for work. So what? He's like, but won't you be thankful? Don't you have anything to be thankful for? And I said, they thank God for our destruction. They thank God for our destruction. So why the hell would I associate myself with those that thank God for our destruction? Let's go to Lamentations chapter 5. Let's go to Lamentations chapter 5. Let's start at verse 1. Remember, O Lord, meaning don't forget. Remember, O Lord, meaning don't let this come out of your mind. Remember, O Lord, meaning never forget this. What has come upon us. Consider and behold our reproach, our reproach. Now, the term reproach, let's look up the definition of the word reproach. I like words, but sometimes people don't understand words. So let's look up the definition of reproach. Define reproach. Because words have meaning. Words have significant meaning. What does the word reproach mean? Define reproach. Let's look it up. Because they say, Forefront, you should be celebrating Thanksgiving Day, brother. And I'm like, for what? For what? That thing is a reproach. That holiday is a reproach to any person with common biblical sense. Now, the definition of the term reproach, it says express to someone's disapproval or disappointment in their actions. Noun, the expression of disapproval or disappointment. So when I look at Thanksgiving Day, and I look at all of these people spending millions of dollars, wasting their money on turkey, on ham, wasting their money because the government said, hey, you get a day off. And they don't look at the destruction of millions, over 100 million people to create this stupid ass holiday. I find it disappointing. I find it something that I have to disapprove of. When Christopher Columbus came to the Americas, was it freedom and love and justice for all? Or was it destruction? Was it slavery? Christopher Columbus initiated the transatlantic slave trade. Yes, that's right. Christopher Columbus took a whole bunch of Indians, native indigenous, so-called black, so-called West Indians, dragged them across the Caribbean islands and brought them to Spain as slaves. Oh, but that's not the history that you're thankful for? That's not what you're thankful for? When the Pilgrims came over here on Plymouth Rock, right? When the Pilgrims came over here to the Americas, was it freedom and love and justice for all? Or was it absolute devastation, slavery, colonization, loss of identity, and Thanksgiving? What was it? What was it? That is a reproach. That is something we should all disapprove of. That is something we should say, wait, I can't celebrate the destruction of human beings. Mass unalivings. I can't celebrate that. I can't be thankful for that. Remember, O Lord, what has come upon us and consider our reproach. Our inheritance, meaning what? What comes with the inheritance? Land, natural resources, gold, silver, diamonds, water, wood, construction materials. Our inheritance, our land, is turned to strangers. Our houses to aliens. Wait a minute. When Christopher Columbus came to the Americas, when Spain came to the Americas, they were the illegal aliens. Wait a minute. When Britain came to the Americas and they found people already here, they were the illegal aliens. Now, through war, through colonization, through mass unaliving, they deleted all the inhabitants of the land, right? And then said, you black folks, we're going to make you denizens. You Indians, we're going to change your name and we're going to call you Negro. You West Indians, you guys are aliens. You Mexicans, you guys are aliens. Wait a minute. Hold on a second. The invading force came in and then said that the people living here already were illegal aliens. No, 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 no. No, 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 no. The real illegal aliens is Bob. The real illegal aliens are Karens. The real illegal alien is Becky. The real illegal alien is Kenneth. Let's be honest, folks. When Europe came to America, those were two separate continents. Europe came with Spain, France, and Britain, as well as Portugal, as well as Scandinavia. And they took over the Americas and claimed it for themselves after they deleted a whole bunch of people. And then they want to cover it up and say, oh, it was smallpox that wiped out the Indians. No, the hell it wasn't. It was not smallpox. It was not smallpox. Watch this. Lamentations chapter 5, verse 3. We are orphans and fatherless. Our mothers are as widows. How did we become orphans and fatherless? It was because of this. Let's go to Isaiah. No, let's go to Ezekiel chapter 35. Let's start at verse 1. Moreover, the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Son of man, set thy face against Mount Seir, Mount Seir, Mount Seir. Mount Seir is a code word of the Edomites. The Edomites are the descendants of the Europeans, aka America, and prophesy against it. And prophesy, meaning preach, against it. Preach against the children of Mount Seir. Preach against the children of Mount Seir, and say unto it, Thus saith the Lord God, Behold, O Mount Seir, aka America, aka Romans, aka Grecians, aka Europeans, I am against thee. What does the Bible say? I am against thee. What does the Bible say? I am against you. I will stretch, this is what God says, I will stretch out my hand against you and will make you most desolate, most desolate, most desolate. Watch this. I will lay your cities waste, and thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord. So the same way Christopher Columbus invaded and depopulated the lands, God says he's going to go into the lands of Esau, Edom, and do the same thing. When Jesus Christ comes on the scene, he's going to waste the cities, plural, of Edom. The children of Edom, whoever you think they are on the planet, God says he's going to jack them up. And thou shalt be desolate, and thou shalt know that I am the Lord. Now he's going to tell you the reason why. Because thou hast had a perpetual hatred and has shed the blood of the children of Israel by the force of the sword in the time of their calamity, in the time that their iniquity had an end. Meaning what? Christopher Columbus, Spain, Italy, Portugal, Great Britain, France, they acquired lands and territories through the sword, through deleting innocent men, women, and children by the millions. It wasn't smallpox. It wasn't measles. It was the children of Esau. So then they say, well, hundreds of years later, we're not going to call all of these people illegal aliens now, even though it was their country originally, and we're going to unalive them and sell them as slaves, and we're going to thank God for it and call it Thanksgiving Day. Lamentations chapter 5, Verse 3, we, referring to blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, are orphans and fatherless. Now we understand why. We have drunken our water for money. Our wood is sold unto us. So now ask the critical thinker. Your ancestors originally owned America. The Europeans came from Britain, France, and Spain, went to war with your ancestors, took over the land, named you illegal Indians, and named you Negroes and Aboriginals and all these other misnomers, and then turn around and stole your inheritance, your land, your property, and sold it back to you. Do you not pay for mortgages? Do you not pay for rental properties? When it says we have drunken our water for money, what do you think you're doing when you go into the grocery store and you buy Dasani and Fiji water? Water comes out of the sky for free. But in places like Arizona, if you collect rainwater, you can go to jail. In places like California, if you collect rainwater, you can go to jail because the government says, no, you can't collect rainwater that comes out of the sky. Buy it from our grocery stores. Is that not what's going on? Is that not what's going on? Hell, you could go to a river and collect water, filter it, boil it, filter it again, put it in a water bottle and sell it. Will they allow you to do that? No. No, you got to buy Fiji water. You got to buy Dasani water. You got to buy American Corporation water. No, you can't dig your own ditch in your own well and fill it with water and set up your own sewage system. No, you got to pay the water company. Let's read the Bible again. Maybe it's not sinking in. Lamentations chapter 5, verse violation warning. Your life is flagged for hate speech and hateful behaviors. Repeating violations could result in your life being disconnected. Violation warning. What am I violating? Wow. So TikTok said that my speech is very harmful. TikTok just gave me a violation and said that my speech is very harmful because I said that people have to pay their own water bill. Wow. Wow. Information now is being so sensitive to these people that hate the truth that they set up algorithms to message you if you as an individual speak very loudly. So let me say it softly like Joel Osteen. We're reading out of the Bible for educational purposes only. We're educating the people on the wickedness that happens on the earth. We have given you an example of Ezekiel and Lamentations, where the Bible says in Lamentations chapter 5, verse 4, that we have drunken our water for money, and our wood is sold unto us. So, when you examine the world today, do the indigenous populations pay for their own wood and their own water? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. Our ancestors that were in the Americas were forced to drink our own water by paying other nation states that came and stole the natural resources and then repackaged them into bottles and utilized corporations to sell them back to us. We call it Fiji water. We call it Dasani water. We call it Aquafina water. All of these things we pay for in a system of injustice. And then they say, thank God for it. Let's call it Thanksgiving Day. Our own land, our own property, our own resources are sold back to us at exorbitant prices. And when we speak out against it with a loud voice, The Censorship Bureau say that's harmful speech. You shouldn't say that. That's mean. Reality is mean. Truthful information is uncomfortable. That's what they do. They want to censor my life because I say you're paying for resources that cost too much. And they want you to thank God for it. Why would I be thankful for a situation where the house that I grew up in, that my family purchased for $49,000 when I was born in the 1980s, and this same house, after the refinancing debacle of 2007 and 2008, after the refinancing debacle where banks were bailed out, but normal citizens were not bailed out, you had exorbitant loans given out to black and brown people, and then the interest rate was 10%, 25%, 50%, 2%, an adjustable rate mortgage, and my father could not pay it back. And then the banks stole his house from him and his rental property. So the way that he could generate wealth was now taken away from him and given back to the banks that were bailed out. Now that same house that I grew up in cost $500,000, and the wood that was used for my father to construct that house, to remodel that house, to make a new room, to make a shed, all of that wood is now gone. Let me read the Bible again. Lamentations chapter 5, verse 4. We have drunken our water for money, our wood is sold unto us. Can you go off to a forest and chop up wood and build a house? Or do you have to go to Home Depot, Lowe's, some sort of store and purchase wood for construction? Can you go out there and just dig a trench, build your own sewage systems, build a well, and have your own water? Or do you have to pay a water bill? Do you have to pay the bank for a loan and ask them, please, can you send workers to work to build a house for me? And then you have to pay the bank perpetually over and over and over and over and y'all, where do you live in? You live in a society where a house can be built in 1970 and the construction workers never get a perpetual payment for the work that they have done because they make black and brown people work the construction. But the CEOs and the banksters, they get paid for that property over and over and over and over and over and over and perpetually. You don't see it's a scam. You don't see you're being played. And then they say, let's give them a holiday. Let's call it Thanksgiving. Let's call it Thanksgiving. They thank God for our destruction. They thank God for our manipulation. The corporations are sitting back and they're saying, ha 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 ha, we got them by the rack. We got them by the cojones. They can't do anything about it. And yet you think this is freedom. The destruction of the native indigenous inhabitants is the destruction of America, the destruction of our people. Watch this. Lamentations chapter 5, verse 5. Our necks are under persecution. We labor and have no rest. I want y'all to think about this for a moment. What group of people in America are under persecution? What group of people in America are under constant surveillance? What group of people in America are under constant discrimination? When I examine America, I notice blacks, Hispanics, Native Americans. No other, they don't harass Asian people and Chinese people and people from Azerbaijan and Uzbekistan and Hungary and Ukraine. When they talk about illegal immigration, they never talk about people from Afghanistan, people from India, people from Europe. When they talk about illegal immigration, they never talk about the hundreds of thousands of people from Arab, European, and Asian nations that come to the Americas. They only talk about African immigrants, Haitian immigrants, Jamaican immigrants, Puerto Rican immigrants, even though Puerto Rico is a commonwealth of America. That's strange. Mexican immigrants. Mexicans were already in America. Hell, Texas was part of Mexico. Kansas was part of Mexico. Arizona, New Mexico was part of Mexico. But when Mexican people, quote unquote, come into America, they say, you're illegal. You're illegal. But a Ukrainian can fly on an airplane, fly to America, get citizenship, and that's not illegal? When they're not even from the Americas, not North, not Central, not South America. Listen to what I'm saying. Our necks are under persecution. What group of people are being dismembered in the streets of America, are being pew-pewed by the police? What group of people are being unalived by average Joe citizens? And they say, oh, nothing to see here, folks. It's normal because they're, y'all, I just saw an article that made me upset where a police officer was called due to a domestic dispute. And when the police officer went to the home, the police officer unalived a 2-month-old baby and the mother. So imagine you get into an argument with someone calls the cops. Instead of the cops having a way to de-escalate the situation, they instead unalive you and your 2-month-old child. To hell with Thanksgiving Day. To hell with it, y'all. Thank God for what? You want to thank God for the destruction of innocent children? How? Our necks are under persecution, meaning what? The Inquisition that started in Spain, the Inquisition that started in Portugal back in the medieval times and the post-Renaissance times never ended. They just transitioned and said, these same people that we're going to persecute in Spain and Portugal, we're going to persecute them in the Americas. When you examine history, the same people that were under persecution during the Inquisition is the same people being persecuted in America today. The same people that wear long black robes with a cone hat, right? That were the unalivers during the Roman and Italian persecutions of Italy and Spain and Portugal. They took black and brown people and did the same thing in the Americas. And yet they create holidays exalting themselves for the atrocities that they've done. And when you speak on it, they say you have harmful speech. You can't say that forefront. That's mean. You're hurting someone's feelings. You can't say that during Plymouth Rock and the invasion of Britain and France and Spain, that they were unaliving and enslaving the Indians. You can't say that. Well, guess what, folks? That's what happens. That's what happened. Squanto, you know, the exciting story of Squanto that they tell you in school when they say Squanto, he was a friend of the Pilgrims. And no, Squanto came back after seeing millions of his people being enslaved, and he was shocked. He was shocked. No one talks about the enslavement of the indigenous inhabitants of the Americas. No one talks about the enslaved. Where was black people in 1624 when they were celebrating Thanksgiving? In 1700s when they were celebrating Thanksgiving? In 1953, where were they? They were still struggling against oppression. But year after year, they tell you, be thankful. Take one day out of your time to thank God for your oppression. Take one day out of your precious schedule to take off from work, sit down with your family, and eat unclean food. Watch this. We have given the hand, watch this. We have labored and have no rest. This is Lamentations chapter 5, verse 5. So the first primary thing we see is our necks are under persecution, and we labor, we work, and have no rest. The only time they give you a day off is on their so-called holidays, while their CEOs will take 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks, a whole summer away from the corporation, while the minions just work and work and work and work and work and work and work. And then you work all your life just to reach 70, 80 to say, you know what, I'm going to retire. I paid off my house. I'm good. And then next thing you know, they say, I'm sorry, you have a property tax to pay. If you don't pay $3,785 by this date, we're going to come and take your shit. That's what they do. I saw a video online where an 83-year-old woman who had a rent-to-own property, a lease-to-own property in California where she was paying and paying and paying and paying and paying. Now the developers come and kick this 83-year woman, listen, out of her home. And no one stood up for her, so much so that she had to go to the news about it. Nobody went to the office and knocked on the door and said, you can't do this. Nobody came and took the contract and ripped up the contract. Nobody said, hey, you need to release this contract that you have with this woman, or you're not going to have a business anymore. Where are you? Where are the balls of these people? It's as if we allow corporations and government officials to snip our cojones off, and nobody stands against injustice no more. They're so afraid. They're like, well, let me just sit in my little corner. If it doesn't affect me personally, I don't care. And that's why you're getting screwed over by the government day after day. And these corporations play you day after day. Oh, inflation rates are so high. What are you going to do about it? Property tax is so high. What are you going to do about it? My electric bill is so high. What are you going to do about it? What are you going? Me? I figured it out. I said, oh, you know what? This is a trick bag. I'm not going to fall for this shit. I took my plane ticket and I went to Africa. Boom. Forefront, where you at? Oh, I'm in Africa somewhere where the cost of living is significantly lower. You understand? Why would I go and live in America where I have to pay $3,000 a month just to survive, $2,000 a month just to survive, $4,000 a month just to survive, $5,000 a month just to barely make it, living paycheck to paycheck to paycheck while you have a good job? I could imagine people that are on minimum wage. We labor, we work, and have no rest. I don't care if you're making six figures. That's minimum wage. We're supposed to rule the earth. Here it is. You got people making 60, 70, 80, 90, $100,000 and can barely make it, let alone if you're making $2,000 a month, let alone if you're making $20,000 or $30,000 a year or $40,000 a year. Sheesh. People are struggling just to get by. And yet in Africa, you got jokers that's in Africa, and their expenses is less than $200 a month. All they got to do is figure out how to make money from overseas, and that's it. So why is it that rich Americans are leaving America by the thousands? Literally over 300,000 wealthy Americans left, shalom to you, left America. They went to another country. Some went to Portugal, some went to Greece, some went to Morocco, some went to Tanzania, some went to South Africa, but people were getting out of Dodge. And they were saying, look, You know, while I appreciate having my property in California that costs $1.5 million, I got tired of paying $10,000 a month for this property. When I can go to Portugal and get a house and pay literally $10,000 and that's it. I can go to a place to Africa and buy property for $20,000, buy land for $10,000, build a house on it, and that's it. It's mine for the rest of my life. America has us so much in a trick bag that we think that we can't escape. We think that we can't get out. We think that we have no place else to turn. America is the richest country in the world. Yay! But everybody's broke. But everybody's struggling. To hell with that. I got my plane ticket quick. Ezekiel chapter 5, verse 5. Our necks are under persecution. We labor and have no rest. We have given the hand to the Egyptians and to the Assyrians to be satisfied with bread. Meaning what? Egypt was the greatest civilization at the time, and the Assyrians was a great civilization at their time. These two nation states represent the countries that placed the children of Israel in captivity. So the sons and daughters of Jacob were slaves to the Egyptians and the Assyrians, and the ruling powers at that time were in control of our labor and our natural resources, and we worked for them to be satisfied with pieces of bread. That's what we do today in the Americas. We work just to be satisfied with crumbs. And they say, hey, let's call it Thanksgiving Day. I remember when $200 could get a cart full of groceries. I remember when $200 US could buy almost two carts full of groceries. Now, you go into Walmart, $200 could barely get you half a cart. $200 could barely get you half a cart of groceries. In my lifetime, and I haven't even reached 50 yet, y'all. I haven't even reached 50 yet. In my lifetime, I've seen where you can purchase. I remember my first car was a 1992 Nissan Sentra. I could put $5 and fill up the tank. I could put and that was in 2004. I could put $5 and I think it was either almost full or almost like 3/4 full with $5. $5 in a 1992 four-door sedan, Nissan Sentra. Now, that same $5 can barely get a gallon and a half. Barely. Y'all, do you not see that you're in a trick bag? Do you not see that you're being played? We have given our hand to the Assyrians and the Egyptians to be satisfied with bread. Now, God is going to explain to you why we're suffering like this. Verse 7, our fathers have sinned and are not, and we have borne their iniquities. Meaning what? We carry their sins. The sins of our ancestors caused us to be colonized, caused us to be under the hand of oppression, caused us to pay extreme wealth to those that are already rich while we perpetuate poverty. These are generational curses that we need to break. Watch this, verse 8. Servants have ruled over us. Do you see what the Bible says about the European folks? Do you see what the Bible says about Britain, Spain, Italy, France, Belgium, The Bible calls them servants. The Bible calls them servants. These Gentiles were meant to be your servants. But now servants are ruling over us. There is none that doth deliver us out of their hand. There is none that does deliver us out of their hand. Meaning what? They have military power. They have economic power. They have political power. They have religious power. They have scientific technology. Every aspect of this world is pre-programmed for you to worship the beast and his image. For you to worship, listen, when it comes to society, no matter where you go to, all of the world exalts European way of life, European culture, European food, listen, when I go to the grocery stores, they're not saying, hey, do you want an African dish? Do you want a Jamaican dish? Do you want a Puerto Rican dish? Do you want a Haitian dish? Do you want some soul food? No, they're saying, do you want pizza? Do you want a hamburger? Do you want a hot dog? Do you want some fries? That's what they're saying when you go into a grocery store. That shows you even in the foods that you eat, they're all European based. None of your foods that you eat are from indigenous people. When did you go to the store and they say, hey, I got some corn, I got some roasted corn for you. I got some rice. You got to go to specialty restaurants just for it. You got to go to, oh, let me go to Chipotle. Let me go to this Mexican restaurant. Let me go to a soul food spot. Right? But when you walk into these major food chain restaurants, majority of them are not of your people. Majority of them are other nations controlling. You got to go to the Chinese restaurant. You got to go to the Arab restaurant. You got to go to the British restaurant. You got to go to the American restaurant. I could find a KFC in Africa, but I can't find an African restaurant chain in America. Make that make sense. Make that make sense. Why can I find a KFC in Africa, but I can't find an African food chain in America? Make that make sense. Why can I find a McDonald's in Africa or a Burger King in Africa, but I can't find an African restaurant food chain in the Americas? Make that make sense. Shalom to you. Hope you're doing well. Let's read it again. Lamentations chapter 5, verse 8. Servants, servants, servants have ruled over us. There is none that does deliver us out of their hand. What are we reading? The Bible. Britain was made to be your servant, not the other way around. Not the other way around. France was made to be your servant, not the other way around. Spain was made to be your servant, not the other way around. Belgium was made to be your servant, not the other way around. America was made to be your servant, not the other way around. Brazil was made to be your servant, not the other way around. Canada was made to be, Australia was made, all of these nations that are sitting at the United Nations. All of these nations that have a part in the Security Council of the G8 and the G20 and the BRICS and all of these, the European nation, these are those that were supposed to be your servants. Watch this. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 43. The stranger that is within thee shall get thee above very high, and thou shalt come down very low. God is saying in this verse that the foreigner, the strangers, those same strangers that took our inheritance, those same strangers that took our houses, those same illegal aliens like the Pilgrims, like Christopher Columbus, like Britain, like France, like Spain, like America, those strangers like China, those strangers like Saudi Arabia, they would get a very high, meaning what? These people that were destined to be your servants, now they have a higher economic plateau than you. They're on the top of the mountains while we're in the pits and valleys. Verse 44, he shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. Meaning what? These same illegal aliens that invaded America stole all the natural resources. These same illegal aliens that came into Africa stole all the resources, the gold, the diamonds, the bauxite, all of it. Now we got to pay them. Now we got to get loans to the IMF, International Monetary Fund. Now we have to get loans to the World Bank. Now we got to get loans to the Bank of Italy, aka Bank of America, the Bank of Rome, the Bank of the Vatican, the Bank of France, the Bank of Saudi Arabia, the Bank of China. Now we're saying, hey, Russia, please save us. Let's go to BRICS. We went from one slave master to another one. BRICS, can you help us? Now we're putting our trust in everything else instead of our God. Let's read it again. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, very high, very high, and thou shalt come down very low. Why is it that we're celebrating Thanksgiving, but they're not celebrating the Feast of Dedication? Why are we celebrating their holy days, but they're not celebrating our holy days? Why do we have to celebrate their way of life, but they're not celebrating our way of life? Let's go back. Lamentations chapter 5, verse 7. Our fathers have sinned and are not. We have borne their iniquities. Servants have ruled over us. There is none that does deliver us out of their hand. Watch this. Let's go to Leviticus. When it says servants are ruling over you, oh, you better believe the Bible know what it's talking about. Let's go to Leviticus chapter 26. Let's start at verse 17. And I will set my face against you, and you shall be slain before your enemies. They that hate you shall reign over you, reign over you, reign over you, and you shall flee when none pursue you. Do the descendants of Great Britain that live in America, are they ruling over you? Yes or no? When you go to Latin America, are the descendants of Spain and Portugal ruling over you? When you go to French-speaking Francophone countries, do the descendants of the French rule over you? When you travel all the way across to Africa and you go to British territories that were primarily colonized, although they have a semblance of independence, do we still, shalom to you, hope you're doing well, do we still have to report to the British colonial masters for anything that we do? The answer is yes. The answer is yes. Do we still, in Francophone countries, still have to report to France for anything that we do? The answer is yes. Check out the island known as Martinique. The island known as Martinique was a French-speaking nation full of black people of the West Indies, black indigenous populations that were originally from America and some that were taken from the continent of Africa and brought to Martinique. They and their ancestors intermingled with the so-called Haitians, and they went back and forth between Haiti and Martinique during the time of the slave trades. Then when you examine other Francophone countries, like the Republic of Congo, which is in West Africa, Madagascar, which is in East Africa, Mauritius and Reunion, right? These nations also speak French. They have similar languages and practices, but they can't figure out that they're the same descendants of the tribes of Israel from the tribe of Levi. They can't figure it out. Do the people of Kenya, Uganda, Nigeria, Ghana, do they realize that they're still being controlled although they have independence? Some of them have eyes to see, and some of them do not. Some of them still serve the beast. Some of them still serve America. Some of them still serve Great Britain. Some of them, y'all, I saw a video today that grind my gears. The video was either in a British country or in a American city where two European couples were sitting on the street having dinner. And there was a table placed before them. Cars were driving past them back and forth. And under the table was a black man being used as the table. And they recorded it and placed it on the internet for all to see. I cannot wait for the day when Christ comes on the scene and gives us immortal bodies. The first thing I'm going to do is ask God to give me the ability to snap my finger and heads explode. Father, I want to just go snap, crackle, pop. I want to be able to Thanos snap and see Esau, Ishmael, Moab everywhere. Red paint everywhere. Somebody's like, Forefront, you crazy, brother. What are you talking about? Y'all don't know the Bible. Forefront, you too mean, brother. Why? Vengeance belongs to the Lord. Why you got to talk like that, Forefront? Well, I'm going to read it out of the Bible. Isaiah chapter 63, verse 1. Who is this that comes from Edom with dyed garments from Basra? This that is glorious in his apparel, traveling in the greatness of his strength. I that travel in the greatness of his strength, I that speak in righteousness, mighty to save. Listen to this. Wherefore art thou red in thine apparel? Meaning, why are your clothes red, Jesus? And thy garments, like him that treadeth in the wine fat. Why you look like you've been stepping on a bunch of grapes, Jesus? I have trodden the winepress alone. And of the people there was none with me. For I will tread them in mine anger, and trample them in my fury, and their blood shall be sprinkled upon my garments, and I will stain all my raiment. For the day of vengeance is in my heart, and the year of my redeemed is come. So now, Christ is saying out of the Bible that the first one that he's going to target is Edom. And Edom is going to be like a bunch of grapes that got stepped on in the winepress of the fierceness of the wrath of God Almighty. Verse 5. And I looked, and there was none to help. And I wondered that there was none to uphold. Therefore my own arm brought salvation unto me, and my fury it upheld me. This is Christ bringing the fury of the Most High. This is Christ bringing the fury of the Most High. Verse 6, and I will tread them down, and I will tread down the people in my anger, and make them drunk in my fury, and I will bring down their strength to the earth. That's going to be a whole lot of people that get sling, 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 sling. That's a whole lot of folks that get diminished, y'all, because of the evils. Y'all, this is Christ celebrating Thanksgiving. This the same thing that Christopher Columbus did to the indigenous inhabitants of the Americas, the same thing that Hernan Cortez did, the same thing that Ponce de Leon did, the same thing that Belgium did to the Congo, right? Unaliving millions, y'all. Millions. The same thing that the colonizers in Northeast Africa that wear a blue and white flag, the same thing that they're doing right now to people from the Ishmaelites that live in Northeast Africa, Lebanon, Syria, all of that, right? The same thing they're doing right now. Christ is going to come and repay them to the full. To the full. Watch this. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 34. Isaiah 34, verse 8. Let's go to Isaiah 34, verse 8. Nope, let's read verse 5. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. How does a sword take a bath? How does a sword take a bath? Y'all understand what we're reading here, right? It says, for my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, Idumea, Idumea. Now, Idumea is another word for Edom. What's another word for Edom? Greece, Rome, Europe, America, Australia, Russia, South Afrikaner, Belgium, Dutch, Netherlands, Scandinavia, Turks, all of these Eurocentric folks, God calls them Idumea. Idumea. I don't know why in the world you got Israelites trying to tell people, don't call them Edomites, that's mean. Don't say God is going to judge Esau, that's mean. Get out your feelings. God says what he say, and I don't care about your feelings. Oh, I'm a part of this organization. My church teaches that we can include all nations and Gentiles. I don't care what your pastor say. I don't care what your reverend say. What does the Bible say? The Bible says, for my sword shall be bathed in heaven. This is Isaiah chapter 34, verse 5. Has this happened yet? No. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, upon the people of my curse to judgment. Here's how you know it's not talking about an individual. It says, upon the people of my curse to judgment. Meaning what? On judgment day, Christ is coming for Esau. You can't pray your way out of it. You can't invite them to your church. Oh, please come to my church. Join my camp. Join my church. We allow all nations. Yay. Let's be friends. Let's kumbaya. Yay. Listen, you better get as far away from Esau when Christ comes on the scene. If you found with Esau, loving up on Esau, you're going to be thrust through with Esau on judgment day. That's what we're reading here in the Bible. Verse 6, the sword of the Lord is filled with blood. It is made fat with fatness, and with the blood of lambs and goats, with the fat of kidneys of rams. For the Lord have a sacrifice in Basra. Meaning what? And a great slaughter in the land of Idumea. Meaning what? When Christ comes on the scene, Esau gonna get the business. Y'all tap the screen, get the likes up, share the room with at least 10 people, y'all. This is what I gotta be thankful for. This is what I gotta be thankful for, because judgment day will come for the wicked. God ain't gonna save the wicked and the righteous. No. God ain't gonna destroy the righteous with the wicked. No. God is gonna destroy the vessels of wrath fitted for destruction, and God is gonna save the meek. The meek shall inherit the earth. The meek shall inherit the earth. The poor, blessed are the poor, for they shall inherit the earth. Now, was that talking about everybody? Or was it talking about a group of people that were forced into poverty? Who live in the ghettos and slums? Who live in the shanty houses? Watch this. Isaiah chapter 14, verse 32. What shall one then answer the messenger of the nation? That the Lord hath founded Zion, 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 and the poor of his people shall trust in it. Wow. So when the Messiah was saying, blessed are the poor in spirit, he wasn't talking about everybody. He was talking about the poor of his people. The poor of his, y'all, you got to read the Bible. That's the only way you cannot be deceived by these Christian liars, man. Isaiah chapter 34, verse 8. For it is the day of the Lord's vengeance and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion. What's the controversy of Zion? Who are the real Jews? Who are the real Israelites? Who are God's chosen people? Who are these black folks walking around all over the planet calling themselves the color in a crayon box? Who are these people in the diaspora that have been mixed and intermingled with the nation so much so that they're lost and they don't know who they are? Who are these African people that always get disrupted and mistreated all over the planet no matter where they go? The Israelites, the Israelites, the Israelites. The controversy of Zion will be accomplished through the Savior. God says, God says, God says, for it is the day of the Lord's vengeance. Meaning what? The day when Christ comes on the scene to save his people. Listen. Part of the gospel comes with destruction. The good news comes with destruction. You understand? When God saved the children of Israel from ancient Egypt in the book of Exodus, what did he have to do? He had to destroy Egypt. When God saved the children of Noah from the flood, what did he have to do? He had to send judgment. When God saved Lot and his daughters out of the land of Sodom and Gomorrah and Zeboim, what did he have to do? He had to send fire and brimstone and judgment. So what do you think is going to happen for God to save us? You think the kingdom of Satan and the kingdom of Christ are going to sit next door to each other? You think the kingdom of Eurocentric delusionalism and the kingdom of a black Messiah are going to be right next door to each other? Y'all tap the screen, get the likes up, share the room with at least 10 people, y'all. Watch this. Verse 9. This is Isaiah chapter 34, verse 9. It says, and the streams thereof shall be turned into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone, into brimstone, into brimstone, and the land thereof shall become burning pitch, burning pitch. So now a Christian will say, God judged Esau already, brother. When did God come down on the earth and burn the land of Esau, where you could see the land as burning pitch? That ain't happened yet. So you know what that's talking about, Christian? That's talking about God judging America. God judge America, my home, sweet home. God judge Great Britain, my home, sweet. God is coming to judge y'all. Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, forefront. But when you say it, it makes me feel uncomfortable. It makes me smile. It makes me thankful. That's my Thanksgiving. That's what I'm praying for. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of God and the faith of Jesus Christ. That's my faith. My faith is, God, when are you going to come and save us and lay waste the wicked? God, when are you going to deliver us from the hand of oppression and destroy our oppressor? God, when are you going to watch this? Watch this. Let's read it again. Isaiah chapter 34, verse 5. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, Idumea, Idumea. That's Edom, y'all. That's Europe. That's America. That's Britain. That's France. That's Portugal. That's Russia. That's Belarus. That's Ukraine. That's Georgia. That's the Khazarians. That's the Tartarians. You know, they got this new conspiracy theory where they're like, oh, Tartaria. Tartaria, brother. That's the new conspiracy theory, Tartaria. Who give a damn about Tartaria? God gonna jack their ass up too. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, upon the people of my curse to judgment. Meaning on judgment day, Christ is going to come and pulverize Idumea, y'all. Wow. Wow. Let's jump down. Verse 9, verse 8, it says, for it is the day of the Lord's vengeance and the year of recompenses for the controversy of Zion, and the streams thereof shall be turned into pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone, and the land thereof shall become burning pitch. It shall not be quenched night nor day, meaning ain't no water that can put this fire out. There will be no type of water that exists that will be able to put this fire out. There will be no type of water that you can pour on. A fire extinguisher is not going to work. It says the streams thereof shall be turned into pitch. Imagine, instead of seeing the Mississippi River, imagine the Mississippi River being a lava field, a lava river. The streams will be turned to pitch, and the dust thereof into brimstone, and the land thereof shall become burning pitch. Imagine America just being burning tar and lava. That's what we're reading here in the Bible, y'all. Imagine Western civilization turned in, watch this, it shall not be quenched night nor day. The smoke thereof shall go up forever, forever. From generation to generation it shall lie waste. None shall pass through it forever and ever. Watch this. Let's go to Revelation chapter 18, verse 8. Precept, 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 precept. Let's go to Revelation chapter 18, verse 8. Revelation chapter 18, verse 8. It says, therefore shall her plagues come in one day, deletion, mourning, and famine. And she, referring to Babylon the Great, aka Make America Great Again, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, with fire, with fire, for strong is the Lord God who judges her. So wait a minute. We just read in Isaiah that the Lord God is coming down to send vengeance. Now we're reading here that Christ is coming down to send vengeance. And now we get a better understanding of what he's talking about. Wait a minute. So the vengeance that he's talking about is the judgment on Babylon the Great. Watch this. And the kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her, meaning what? All of these nation states, the prime ministers, the presidents, the popes, the kings, right? The dictators, the tyrants, the despots, everybody that sat at the table of the United Nations with the EU, the economic nations, right? All of these kings of the earth, watch this, who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her, meaning what? They got rich with Babylon the Great. They got rich. Listen, when you think about it, because when we talk about reparations, we don't really look at the bigger picture. We just say, America, you owe us money. No, Great Britain owe you money. France owe you money. Saudi Arabia owe you money. China owe you money. Russia owe you. Y'all, this is Christ saying it's time for them. The bill is due now. It's time to pay the debt because they're not going to pay us the money. So Christ got to come back and say, all right, we're going to force you to pay. But the payment is going to be in red. You know how you go to when they say, what's the phrase they say? When they say you're so far in debt that you're in the red. That's these nation states according to God. Their sins have reached to heaven so much that God is saying that the bill is now due. Your payment is now due. And the kings of the earth, Revelation chapter 18, verse 9, and the kings of the earth who committed fornication and lived deliciously with her shall bewail her. They gonna cry. They gonna cry. They gonna cry and lament her when they shall see the smoke of her burning, of her burning, of her burning, standing afar off for the fear in her torment, saying, alas, alas, that great city, meaning that great nation, Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. Meaning what? It ain't gonna take but 1 hour for Christ to jack up Babylon the Great. Make America great again. Watch this. Precept, 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 precept. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 21, verse 9. Isaiah chapter 21, verse 9. It says, and behold, here comes a chariot of men, with a couple of horsemen. And he answered and said, Babylon is fallen, and all the graven images of her gods, he have broken unto the ground. Meaning what? When you look at America, America's full of idols. Hell, y'all even got a TV show called American Idol. Damn. What are the idols of America? Caesar Borgia. What are the idols of America? The Statue of Liberty. What are the idols of America? Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. Let's go back. Revelation chapter 18, verse 10. Standing afar off for fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city, Babylon, that mighty city, for in 1 hour is thy judgment come. Wait a minute. It's mentioned in judgment. Let's go back. Isaiah chapter 34, verse 5. For my sword shall be bathed in heaven. Behold, it shall come down upon Idumea, and upon the people of my curse to judgment. Wow. So the children of Edom are the children of Babylon. The children of Idumea are the children of Babylon. If you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. If you see it, you put a 1 in the chat if you understand. Put a 2 in the chat if you're confused. Put a 1 in the chat if you understand. Put a 2 in the chat if you're confused. But yet you got some Israelites that's like, let's bring Esau in the kingdom, brother. Let's be friends. Let's be friends. You got to say it. You got to say it like they say when they're like 2, 3 years old, 5 years old. Everybody's my friend, brother. What? No, the hell they not. Esau ain't your friend. Ishmael ain't your friend. Moab ain't your friend. God got judgments waiting for them, y'all. Let me help the Christian Israelite that know that they Israel, but they still hold on to Christian ideologies. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 48, verse 10. Cursed be he that doeth the work of the Lord deceitfully, and cursed be he that keepeth back his sword from blood. You hear that? You hear that? You hear that? They so scared. They're like, I don't want God to judge Esau or Ishmael. They're my friends. Yo, do you want to be cursed? Don't do the work of the Lord deceitfully. Don't be out here talking about all nations going to be saved, brother. Jesus loved everybody, brother. That's what Christians teach. Christians don't even got the image of Christ right. You think God is going to save all nations? You don't know the Bible. But you got Israelites that's going around and saying, brother, John 3:16, brother. John 3:16, God loved the whole world, brother. Y'all don't know what that's talking about. Y'all Christian Israelites need to go back and study the Bible again. Okay? I ain't gonna name no names, but a lot of them say Yahya. Okay? I love you, but hey, the truth is the truth. Let's go back. Let's go to watch this. Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 48. Let's start at verse 1. Against Moab, wait a minute. God says against Moab, against China. Thus saith the Lord of hosts. The Lord of hosts, meaning what? The God of armies. The God of Israel. Woe unto you, Nebo. Nebo was a city that was ruled over by the Moabites. For it is spoiled. Kiriathaim, that was another area that was controlled by the Moabites, is confounded and taken. Misgab, that was another area that was controlled by the Moabites, is confounded and dismayed. There shall be no more praise of Moab. In Heshbon, they have devised evil against it. Come and let us cut it off from being a nation. Meaning what? They call themselves Chinese no more. They no longer call themselves Moabites. Let us cut it off from being a nation. Also, thou shalt be cut down, O mad men. The sword shall pursue thee. God got a judgment on these folks, y'all. A voice of crying shall be from Horonaim, spoiling and great destruction. Great destruction. Y'all, China gonna be destroyed, y'all. Watch this, verse 4. Moab is destroyed. Her little ones have caused a cry to be heard. For in the going up of Luhith, continual weeping shall go up. For the going down of Horonaim, the enemies have heard a cry of destruction. Flee, flee, save your lives, and be like the heath in the wilderness. For because thou hast trusted in thy works and in thy treasures, thou shalt also be taken, and Chemosh shall go forth into captivity with his priests and his princes together. Meaning what? Britain came in, Greece came in, Rome came in, fought against China. Babylon came in, fought against China, and placed them in captivity. People don't know about them Chinese folks that were taken as indentured servants and brought across from Asia all the way to the plantations of America. They don't know about that. They don't know about these Asian folks that were forced to work by the British. They don't know about that history, though. They think everything got to deal with Babylon and African Americans. They don't know the Bible, y'all. We got to study better. We got to study better. Watch this. Verse 8. And the spoilers shall come upon every city, and no city shall escape, and no city shall escape. The valley also shall perish, and the plain shall be destroyed, as the Lord has spoken, as the Lord hath spoken. Give wings unto Moab, that it may flee and get away, for the cities thereof shall be desolate, without any to dwell therein. Meaning what? The children of Moab were taken out of the lands of Moab in Jordan and scattered into what? Asia, China, Mongolia, Japan, Korea, Vietnam, Cambodia. Let's read on. Cursed be he that doeth the work of the Lord deceitfully, and cursed be he that keepeth back his sword from blood. Moab hath been at ease from his youth, and he hath settled on lees, and have not been emptied from the vessel to vessel. Neither hath he gone into captivity. Therefore his taste remains in him, and his scent is not changed. Meaning what? These Moabites, they still the same. They still look the same. They still act the same. They still eat unclean foods the same. His smell is not in him. God could look down on the earth and be like, that's a Moabite right there. That right there, they're uniform all throughout the planet. You go around, you be like, yeah, that's a Chinese person right there. That's a Chinese person right there. Watch this, verse 12. Therefore, behold, the days come, saith the Lord. The days come, saith the Lord, that I will send unto him wanderers that shall cause him to wander, and shall empty his vessels and break their bottles. And Moab shall be ashamed of Chemosh. Chemosh is one of the fake gods that is similar to Molech. When you observe the Chinese, they have a god that they worship, that this deity is basically the dragon. It's another form of Baal. It's another form of Molech. Okay. There's a lot of witchcraft and sorcery involved in Asian countries that many people are not aware of. When you examine the things that they put on the television screens, they absolutely love what they call jujitsu, right? They got a TV show called Jujutsu Kaisen, right? Where they're all into sorcery. You watch it in their anime. It's full with a lot of witchcraft in it, y'all. A whole bunch of it, y'all. Bunch of idol worship. When you watch these Asian anime TV shows, they're always bowing down to some rock. And it ain't Buddha. It's some other deity. It's Chemosh, Molech. Watch this. It says, and Moab shall be ashamed of Chemosh, as the house of Israel was ashamed of Bethel, their confidence. Meaning what? Back in Bethel, the children of Israel, northern kingdom, was celebrating the gods of Chemosh and Molech, right? Baal and Ashtaroth. We got ashamed of that thing when God sent us into slavery. right? Watch this. How, say ye, we are mighty and strong men for war. Moab is spoiled and gone up out of her cities, and his chosen young men are gone down to the slaughter, saith the king, whose name is the Lord of hosts, meaning the God of armies. The calamity of Moab is near to come, and his affliction hasteth fast. So now when we read this about China being destroyed, guess what? Everybody's like, all right, I'm cool with that. That's fine. It is what it is. God gonna judge them. Chinese folks don't like black folks anyway, right? They're cool with that. But when we read about the judgments of Esau, all of a sudden they're confused. All of a sudden, when we read about the judgments of Esau, they're confused. Let's read on. The calamity of Moab is near to come, and his affliction hasteth fast. Meaning God gonna jack up these Chinese folk. All ye that are round about him bemoan him, and all ye that know his name say, how is the strong staff broken, and the beautiful rod? See, a lot of people don't know the history of China and its invasion of. Y'all do know China set sail across the seas and colonized just like Britain and France did, right? So many people don't know nothing about Chinese history. Y'all do know that China had enslaved black people, and black people were used as slaves that they call Kunlun slaves. Y'all do know that during the East African slave trade, there were black folks that were taken into Chinese territory, Asian countries, to work as slaves, right? They call them Zhangji or Zhangj or Bantu. These are Israelites, y'all. Now you call them black Cambodians. Now you call them Afro-Filipino. Now you call them Aita. Now you call them Afro-Chinese. A lot of them lived in the cities of Guangzhou, China. Guangzhou was a slave port. Let me say it again for the kids in the back. There's a place in China called Guangzhou where a lot of black slaves were working, and many of their descendants still work there to this day. Matter of fact, let me look up an article on Guangzhou so I can read it to you, so that way nobody knows. Forefront don't be making stuff up. Guangzhou, China, black slaves. Let's do an online search real quick, so that way we can read this. All right, this is a website called blackpass.org. Africans and African Americans in China. This article is dated 2015. This is for educational purposes only. Africans and African Americans in China, a long history, a troubled present, and a promising future. 2015. In the article below, independent historian Robin Lofton explores the past, present, and possible future of the relationship between the world's most populous nation and people of African ancestry. You know African ancestry means Israelites. Y'all know that, right? Africa and China have had contact for more than 1,000 years. Some scholars assert that the contacts began as early as the 4th century AD, but convincing evidence is sporadic or lacking. Beginning with the Tang Dynasty, 618 AD to 907 AD, documented evidence of the contact of trade exists. What were they trading? Exist, showing a relationship between China and the city-states of East Africa, meaning Northeast Africa, all the way down, right? Northeast Africa goes into what? The land of Judea, the land of Arabia, the land of Kenya, Ethiopia, right? That's East Africa. Eritrea, Uganda, Kenya, Tanzania, Malawi, right? These are all areas in East Africa. Watch this. It says, at least one account indicates that Du Huan was the first Chinese to visit Africa, probably in Nubia. Nubia, y'all, that's Sudan. That's the Sudan region, right? During the 8th century AD. Since the 7th century, Africans have maintained a consistent commercial relationship with China. During the Tang Dynasty, Arabs live in Saudi Arabia. Arabs live in the Middle East. Brought African slaves from East Africa to China. Wait a minute. How did the children of Israel get out of Northeast Africa and were brought to China? Y'all, how did our ancestors get out of the Middle East and end up in China? Arab traders took black people from the Middle East, black people from Northeast Africa, black people from East Africa, and brought them to China. I'm not making this up, y'all. Watch this. It says, listen close. Listen. They comprised one of the many commodities our ancestors were used as commodities in the Arabs' largest scale maritime, meaning water, trade with China. During this era, the first Chinese cultural perception of African people developed. These dark-skinned people were known as Kunlun. So now, is the forefront making it up? Or did I just look up an external source that verified all the information that I'm bringing out to y'all? The reason why God is going to judge Moab is because they enslaved our people. Watch this. They are described as lower class, ignorant, scary, and dangerous. Ain't that the same way white folks feel about us in America? You guys are low class. You guys are ignorant. You guys are scary. I'm scared of you, black man. Oh, you gonna be scared? You gonna be scared indeed. When Christ come out the sky and you see he a black man with woolly hair and feet so dark it look like it burned in a furnace. Oh man, yeah, they're gonna be scared indeed. Watch this. It says, although there were far more enslaved Chinese, some wealthy Chinese preferred the exotic Kunlun slaves. African slavery in China peaked during the Tang and Song dynasty between 960 and 1279 AD. Dynasties, but the number of African slaves taken to China during this 608-year period is unclear. Millions. The reason why a lot of them didn't survive is because many of them were castrated. By this point, Chinese perception of the Kunlun became more complex. These perceptions range from strong and mysterious to frightening. The Kunlun in the Tang Dynasty era were portrayed in numerous stories of the period as heroic, resourceful, and ironically culturally Chinese. They said that the Kunlun was Chinese, but these were Israelites, y'all. Israelites in the lands of China. It says, most Chinese during this period, however, unless they are very wealthy, had little contact with African slaves. That's a lie. Perhaps explaining the different views of the Kunlun. Now watch this. During the Song dynasty, the numbers of African slaves increased in China. Most came from Madagascar. Where's Madagascar, y'all? Africa. And the Comoro Islands. Where's the Comoro Islands? Africa. And thus indirectly from Africa, since the Arabs brought sub-Saharan Africa. I hate that word sub-Saharan. That thing pissed me off. Africans to both areas. Most Kunlun slaves in China live in Canton province. Canton. Is there a Canton in America? Yeah, there is. Is there a Canton in America? Yeah, there is. Interesting. Almost damn near sound like they said Compton, but it says Canton. By this time, they were mostly viewed as a displaced people meaning what? Dispersed, diaspora, displaced people who lacked the ability to adapt to the Chinese environment. They were also described as savages with unintelligible speech. Wow. wait a minute. When Christopher Columbus came over here, didn't they describe our people as savages? The Aboriginal Indians, the West Indians, did they say, oh, these jokers, these Carib Indians, they some savages. These Negroes, they some y'all. Asia got the same mindset as Esau. All of these nations, Psalms 83, got the same mindset as Esau. All of them. All of them. So how the hell in 2024 you got Israelites talking about, let's invite Moab to come into our church and let's pray and worship our same God? How the hell in 2024 you got Jake talking about, oh, let's bring Moabites and Ishmaelites into our congregation, when the Bible already said, don't let them in the congregation to the 10th generation. Don't even let them into the 10th generation. Come on, man. Oh, we're friends, Ishmael. You could come to our church and let's worship the same God, when the Arabians were the ones that sold you to the Chinese and the Europeans as y'all. Do y'all know slavery is still going on in the Muslim countries right now to this day? But when you go to the grocery store or to the gas station, you smiling in the face of Arabs. When you go to get your nails done, sisters, at the Chinese salon, you smiling all in their face. Don't ya? Don't lie. Don't lie to the forefront. I'll tell the truth. You be like, hi, Ling Ling, how you doing? Good girl. I'm ready to get my nails done. Come on, man. Stop playing with me, son. Stop playing with me, son. Watch this. East Africa, let's go right here. While the Kunlun slaves were dehumanized as savage and scary, the Chinese view of free Africans was different. That's a lie. Many of these Africans were treated with respect and honor. That's a lie. East African merchants Zhangjiani, that's what he's called. So now, the term Zeng or Zung is a term that means angels. The word Zung means angels, but Arabs and Chinese use that to refer to us as black. The term Jiani means Yani or Yani, meaning Yahweh, Ni. Ni is going into what? Children of. Like you have a Shani or a Shanti. Ni is children of. So Ni is children of Yah. Black, Zung, children of God. Yah. You can't make this stuff up. Anyway, it says East African merchant Zhang Jiani, for example, in 1071, arrived in China and was treated with the most respect and honor. Zhang Jiani and his party was honored as the first African foreign merchants to be received by Chinese Emperor Shenzong. The emperor gave Chinese title to Zhang Jiani. He became known as Lord Guardian of Prosperity. The Song court regarded Zhang Jiani and his entourage as ambassadors of their country, even though they were simply merchants. Now, remember when we talked about the merchants of the country, right? In another discussion, how they were working with the kings of the earth to sell the children of Israel. Y'all remember that? Right? We read about that in 1 Maccabees chapter 3, verse 41, how the merchants of the country took silver and gold and sold the children of Israel as slaves. So China is not exempt, y'all. A lot of times we forget about the Silk Road slave trade and the East African slave trade. Let's continue. Let's skip this part. Let's go to the Yuan dynasty. The Yuan dynasty, 1271 to 1368, witnessed expanded contact with Africans through trade and diplomatic missions sent to Madagascar. So now, I want you to think about this. How is it early on they had slaves from Madagascar in Africa? Now they're talking about diplomatic efforts to Madagascar. That makes no sense, y'all. You gotta really read between the lines when it comes to these articles. Watch this. Moroccans also arrived in China during the Yuan dynasty. Now remember, this is between 1200 to 1368. So now I want you to think about how our ancestors were being exiled, because black Jews were being exiled as early as 1341, out of 1341, 1371, 1361, out of Europe, y'all. Where did they go? The very next place next door is Morocco, right under Europe. Morocco, Algeria, Tunisia, all those countries are right under Europe. Moroccans also arrived in China during the Yuan dynasty, visiting Guangzhou. Remember I mentioned Guangzhou? Here it is right here. Guangzhou in the South China, as well as Yangzhou and the port city of Guangzhou. By the time of the Ming dynasty, 1368 to 1644, where was black people in 1644? In slavery in Americas, right? Watch this. There was the extensive trade between the Chinese and East African city-states of Mogadishu, that was a slave port, Melinda, that was a slave port, Kilwa, that was a slave port, and modern nations of Somalia, Kenya, and Tanzania, respectively. These are all areas that were controlled by the Arabs. The Arabs had control over Somalia, Kenya, Tanzania. This was before British invasion. This was before British invasion of Somalia, Kenya, and Tanzania. The Chinese imported ivory, that comes from Africa, rhinoceros horn or unicorn horn, that comes from Africa, amber, that comes from Africa, exotic animals such as zebras, ostriches, and giraffes from East Africa. In turn, the city-states received silk, porcelain, and lacquer. You can't make this stuff up, y'all. You can't make this stuff up, y'all. They were trading our ancestors in this Silk Road slave trade, y'all. For ivory, for a rhinoceros horn, for amber, that's a precious metal, for zebras. Imagine human beings being traded for zebras. That's why the hell God is going to jack up these Moabites. Our ancestors were sold for a piece, for silk, threads, clothing. I'm reading this and I'm just like, oh, I can't wait till the Most High just save us and deliver us. That's going to be a great day of salvation. God bless China, the same way they blessed our ancestors. God bless Saudi Arabia, the same way they blessed our ancestors. God bless Europe, the same way they blessed our ancestors. God bless America, the same way they blessed our ancestors. During this period, Zheng He, China's most important admiral and admired navigator, traveled to the coast of East Africa, bringing gold, silver, satin, and porcelain. In 1416, he made the first direct official contact with East Africa, visiting Mogadishu in modern Somalia. Remember, these were all slave ports. Over the next 4 centuries, the rise of Europe, and in particular European trade, aka traffic, and colonial expansion, aka invasion, marginalized Chinese East African contact. Meaning what? People stopped paying attention to the slave trade in East Africa, and they were more focused on the slave trade of the Atlantic Ocean, dealing with Britain, France, Spain, Portugal, and America. Both the Chinese and Africans now look to Europe and the West rather than each other as trading partners. You know what that statement means? That statement means the whole world wonders after the beast and his image. They all worship the beast. Let me read it again. Both the Chinese and the Africans now look to Europe and the West rather than each other as trading partners. Trading connections between China and East Africa were not lost, but neither were they considered particularly important in the new era of global commerce. By the 19th and 20th centuries, however, the relationship between Africa and China became important again as commodities like herbs, spices, precious goods changed hands. Moreover, by the early 20th century, African Americans for the first time began to develop contact and experience in China. How come? because now we're not slaves no more. So now we could travel more freely and establish our own trade. So should I get more into this history? Do y'all want me to continue with some more history of this, or do y'all want to go back to the Bible? Put a 1 in the chat if y'all want to continue. Put a 2 in the chat if y'all want to go back to the Bible. Put a 1 in the chat if y'all want to continue on this article, or put a 2 in the chat if y'all want to continue in the Bible. Y'all, if y'all enjoying the live stream, please tap the screen, get the like, sub, share the room with at least 10 people, y'all. Y'all know Forefront Radio gets censored on here, so 11,000 followers, only 8 people in the room. Wow. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to end this live and I'm going to restart the live. Y'all 8 people that's on here, rejoin the live when I restart it, all right? Let's do that because we've been on here for about 90 minutes. Let me restart the live.